Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Ask the Experts for our digital breakout 145, which was Brad Anderson's Playing Chess on a Trampoline, How to Innovate in an Era of Uncertainty. I am here today with a whole host of subject matter experts that can help answer the questions for you. Before we do, I have a couple preliminary things I need to walk you through. First, when you want to ask a question, just go ahead and use your chat to ask the questions. They will appear to all attendees once we approve them. And please go ahead and upvote your favorite questions. The experts will provide resources at the end of the session as well. And some of the questions will actually be read out loud by me and answered by our on-screen moderators. And some of them will be answered right in the chat window. Keep in mind this session may be recorded. If you don't want to be recorded, I would suggest disconnecting right now and just following along in the chat, but it may be recorded. And please help our moderators. Don't spam, don't post inappropriate comments in the chat window, and pretty much adhere to our code of conduct and really all just be adults today. Here's our code of conduct. We'll just go right through this slide and we'll have that posted in that Q&A as well. So my name is Joe Lurie. I'm a senior product manager with Microsoft 365. I'm unimportant here. So I'm going to start off by letting our subject matter experts introduce themselves. How about Russ? We'll go first with you since you're top left.
Okay, my name is Russ Young. I'm a software engineer, and I specifically am working on the Microsoft Tunnel project. So any questions that you would have about the Microsoft Tunnel that just went public preview today, as Brad announced, go ahead and I can answer and address those questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Russ. Mayank.
Hey everyone, my name is Mayank. I am a senior product manager for Microsoft Endpoint Manager, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have on the strategy or any of the announcements today.
Great, thanks, Mayank. Manoj.
Hey, myself, Manoj. I'm an engineering manager with Microsoft Endpoint Manager team, and I lead the WVD integration and Windows 10X. Any question related to it, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks. And Colleen.
Hi, I'm Colleen Williams. I'm a senior program manager on the Microsoft Edge browser team, here to answer any browser related questions.
Great. We also have, you can see a whole list of experts from Microsoft and some of our MVPs and our community misfit who's hosting the slide deck and can also help as needed. So we're going to start off. I see some questions in the chat right now, and I'm going to start with a question about, and Mike, this might be you. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone can answer this. From Terrell, University of Texas, Arlington, can you talk about a strategy around remotely registering new devices in Intune? Is that something that you're able to help us with, Mayank?
Absolutely. So that's is there more to the question? Let me just see if I can see.
Yep. Can you talk about a strategy around remotely registering new devices in Intune? These devices are currently managed on-prem by Configuration Manager. It sounds like we're talking about starting with a co-management for those devices. Yep.
Yep. So that's a really good question, Terrell. And I would point you to our web page. So you could go to microsoft.com/endpoint manager. We've got an infographic there that does try to talk about exactly the situation you are in, where you start with devices managed by Configuration Manager. And then depending on your needs, you could then have a choice of either enabling something known as tenant attach, which will get you into the cloud pretty immediately without having to really manage your devices in the cloud. So it's a fairly new concept. We've added a lot of new features to it at Ignite. Or if you're more advanced in your cloud journey, you could do co-management, which is managing the same device using both Configuration Manager and Intune. And then, of course, you can manage things through Intune directly, especially for mobile devices. So we have a lot of paths that you can take, and we've got resources on that. So I encourage you to check out our webpage or our blogs, where you can get the latest on what the paths available to you are. I hope that helped.
Great, it does. And we have Oh, I'm getting a little echo. Mike, that might be yours. Can you go ahead and mute, perhaps? Thanks. We have a related one about also in here about our organization is moving to Azure Cloud Only joined for our workstations. We are finding out that Cloud Only device management is not as feature rich as AD and SCCM. By the way, we call that Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager now, not System Center. A lot of features are lacking reporting functionality of Configuration Manager, OUs, device attributes. What's the roadmap? And Mike, I know you said you could talk a little bit about roadmap. Some of the stuff we can't really answer, but I think that's related to the question you just answered. Just that roadmap. Do you have any insight to the roadmap, or yes, it's on the roadmap?
It is continually being developed. So once you go back and see some of the announcements that we've made this year, you'll notice that a lot of those gaps are beginning to be closed. A lot of it is also to reinvent a little bit of the way that you are managing your devices. So, for example, reporting, we absolutely understand that the reporting in the cloud has been something we've had to work on. I do believe that the reporting is much better. I encourage you to give it a try again. There are other things like policy management. So a lot of customers have had group policies in SCCM or just Configuration Manager now, which need to be moved to the cloud. So this year we are talking about the policy analytics, which is now in preview. So there are ways that we are helping you move up into the cloud and closing those gaps. And with a cloud-based service, the releases are coming every 15 days, every month, and we expect to really get you to that point where it doesn't matter what you're using, whether it's Configuration Manager or Intune. Through the Endpoint Manager, you will be able to do most of what you want to do. It will be transparent to you which service is in the background.
Great, thanks. Colleen, we have one on Edge. Our saved favorites, this is Eric asked this question. Are saved favorites and bookmarks in Edge desktop available in Edge on iOS?
Yes, we have favorites available in iOS on Edge. You're saying, I think is the question, can you save them and where are they saved at?
Yeah, it looks like the question is if they're saved on your desktop, are they also available in Edge on iOS when you're signed in there?
No, those don't cross over. So yeah, those are different. Okay. Yeah. You could, I think what I've seen some folks do is upload them on OneDrive and then access OneDrive through the browser and do it that way. I think that there are some creative ways to do that. I don't have anything solid off the top of my head.
Okay, thanks, Colleen. And we are all continuing to improve that Edge experience and the iOS devices as well. So if that is coming, we'll be announcing that if that is a feature that's going to be coming, that's syncing of favorites. Thanks, Colleen. We have a question about, I just saw a WVD question. I don't know what happened to it, but I'd love for that one. Oh, actually, I have a question that says, hi, question from Manoj. So we'll start with that one, then I'll look for that WVD question. Our company is looking into moving our internal facing distribution point to an Azure Cloud distribution point. What are the advantages? How can we calculate the cost? Can the same Cloud DP work for Canada and US users? Specifically, it says, question for Manoj. Manoj, you might be muted right now.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have an answer for that one because it has nothing to do with Windows Virtual Desktop, so sorry.
No worries at all. I know I can speak sort of to some of that. Of course, I'll have to find it again as I'm scrolling through some of the other questions. So the question sounds like it's about using CMG versus an Azure-based distribution point. I think a cloud management gateway really is your answer here versus a cloud-based distribution point. And we have a lot of information that you can find in our aka.ms Endpoint Manager link you see on your screen on how to enable cloud management gateways and whatnot.
Hi, Joe. The Edge question on the favorites, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused by how it, is it regarding syncing? Because syncing is available on iOS, you know, for your profiles. But if there's a question specific to saving your favorites on desktop, and does that translate over to iOS? I think I'm sorry for being confused, but syncing is available. But I don't know if that's what the actual question is. I can't find it in this lovely list of questions.
Yeah, so the word sync, Colleen, isn't actually in the question, but I took it to look like a sync type of question. An Edge favorite that's on your desktop, is it available in iOS, Edge on iOS is the way it would work.
Yeah, if you sign in with that profile, then you can sync your favorites. Maybe that's a more concise way of saying what's available.
Okay, great. Thanks for popping in there.
Yeah, sorry, thank you.
And again, I am looking from a couple of these. Colleen's actually another one about DLP features. When will the data loss prevention DLP features in Edge be there in Edge on Linux?
So I did see that question get asked during the live Q&A. I believe Brad answered that with, we hear your feedback. I don't have anything regarding Linux with DLP to announce right now. For Windows 10, it is in preview and it will go live in a month or so.
Great, that's nice to hear. Thanks. As I'm going through the questions, I see a lot of great questions. I know a lot of them are being answered by our SMEs. The reason I'm not answering, I'm asking some of them out on the screen is I'm looking specifically for WVD and MS Tunnel and Edge questions. I see a lot of CMG questions, which I know will be answered by the SMEs in the text. I see a question about Company Portal replacing Software Center for on-prem managed configuration manager devices. It's not replacing it as of right now, but it can be synced to it. So you can publish within Software Center and then link that to Company Portal. And that can, your users can just use that one Company Portal instead of using both different tools. I also see Microsoft Update includes driver updates for Windows devices, third parties such as Dell and HP, and provide driver catalogs for Endpoint Manager, Configuration Manager, and SCUP. Is Microsoft looking to combine these separate methods into a single solution? Sorry, my electricity just flashed. I hope you can all still see and hear me. Is Microsoft looking to combine these separate methods into a single solution? Is there anyone, Russ, are you able to answer any of the questions about Windows Update by any chance, or even updates from some of the other third-party
No, I can't answer those, sorry.
That's okay. There's a few questions here that I see about Microsoft Update and using Windows Update for Business. You can put your devices into rings, and those include device drivers and feature updates and quality updates, security updates. So you should be able to do that today with Windows Update for Business right through Microsoft Endpoint Manager. Okay, let's see what we have next. I see a lot of questions about multi-tenant management. Mike, you saw Brad's session and we talked about multi-tenant management. Are you able to share anything about, there's a question from Kurt, when are we going to see multi-tenant management for Microsoft 365? This is a huge shortfall for MSPs like us. We need the ability to do policy templating and bulk updates across multiple client tenants. Can you talk about that? It sounds like Project Lighthouse that Brad had just announced.
That's exactly right. So that is part of Project Lighthouse. And once again, I point you to some of the sessions that we have this year, which will go into more detail. So I don't really know off the top of my head, who's delivering some of those sessions. But if you go to the video hub, like aka.ms/video hub, or one of the blogs that Joe wrote recently on our blog website, you will find sessions probably from Natalie Irvine, who heads that engineering project, and it'll have a lot more details on how you can get to using that. But it's definitely a priority, as Brad mentioned, and you'll see a lot more features being added for multi-tenancy and managed service partners over the next year.
Great, thanks for that. I see Caleb asked a question about Microsoft Teams Room and Zoom integration. I can tell you, I don't think we have a SME on here that can answer specific to Teams or Teams Rooms. Microsoft Teams Room Premium, but I can tell you that Teams today has Zoom integration. It's something that you turn on in the Teams admin console. So if you don't see it, it's entirely possible that your Teams admin did not select that option, but it is available today with Teams, a Zoom integration feature. I don't know that it's available with Teams Room, but it is available in Teams. So I have to assume that if it's not today, it will be soon. Are there any plans to expand Intune configuration templates? As an example, CIS templates for Windows 10 version 2004. Mayank, do you know about plans to extend those configuration templates? And by that, it's an anonymous question, so I can't shout out to who asked it. So thank you for asking. But are you talking about security templates? Security
that's what
baselines?
I believe. Yes, I think CIS probably stands for. There are these standard organizations. So like CIS might be referring to the Center for Internet Security. We've also got others like NIST and HIPAA, and there's another one in the UK that the name slips me right now. So what we currently have are security baselines. There are plans to extend that based on these standards that have been defined. I don't believe we have that right away, but that's definitely something we are looking at on how can we make them customized to those standards so you can just deploy it based on the standard. Currently, they are based on the Microsoft recommended security baselines. So you have them for Windows 10, you have them for Microsoft Edge, for Microsoft Defender for endpoints, the newly renamed Defender ATP. And then I believe we're also working on Microsoft Office 365, which is now called Microsoft 365 apps. So you've got a lot of these baselines when you log into the Endpoint Manager admin center.
Thanks so much. I have a question here, another question from Anonymous, and this one may be a WVD sort of related. Well, if I understand correctly, hybrid Azure AD join is not supported with non-persistent VDI. If that is the case, what is the recommended method to deliver Microsoft Store apps to non-persistent VMs if we are unable to hybrid join? Manoj, can you answer about non-persistent VDI, or are you specific to WVD within Endpoint Manager?
Yep, I think you can enroll using hybrid AD join using the pooled one. I know you can't join the non-pooled one. I'm not sure like how the company store or this company store application can be synced to it because since the device is not enrolled, so there is no way you can sync that. And I don't know like what is the plan going forward when we are going to support the non-host pool VMs for WVD.
Okay, thanks. But is that on the roadmap? Can you share that? It is something that we are looking into, or is that something? Okay, great.
Yes. We are looking into it. We are working with WVD to see if we can support that going forward.
Great. I see a question from Jerry about Edge. Thank you for bringing Edge to Linux. I'm very excited. When it launches, will it have feature parity, or will certain features be missing? If so, which ones, or is there a roadmap?
Yeah, great question. So Linux will be brought to the dev channel in the October timeframe. We're not quite at feature parity, and would love to understand, if there's a specific feature that you are looking for. And we are working on documentation and roadmap for Linux as we speak. So thanks so much. But if there's a specific feature, would love what it is you'd like to see.
John Hartley asked an endpoint analytics question, and I'm going to try to take that. Are there any plans to include server analytics in the endpoint analytics products? Servers are endpoints too. Yeah, in some cases, yes, servers are endpoints too. Endpoint analytics right now is for Windows 10 clients. Right now there's no support for servers, as Intune doesn't have support for enrolling servers. I think I saw that question as well. I'm not aware of any support coming there. That's where Azure support comes in as opposed to Intune.
I could just add one more quick thing to that, Joe, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
So while plans for servers, we don't have any public information on that right now. I did want to underline the fact that Endpoint Analytics does work with Configuration Manager. So if you, as long as you enable tenant attach on your configuration manager, you will be able to see the insights and analytics for your Windows 10 devices managed by Configuration Manager up in Endpoint Analytics as well. So just something to point out that it's not just Intune.
That's a great point. I do see another WVD question here that James asked. WVD, we have users who need high processing power for specific workloads. ArcGIS vector rendering, for example, it takes a few days sometimes, or sometimes weeks for it to finish. Is WVD tasked to take up these workloads, just making sure the host pools are big enough? And as I can repeat some of those, that's a really WVD specific question more than an Intune support for WVD, but it's a WVD question. Is WVD tasked to take up these large workloads?
I have no idea about this on the, because this is more like, as you said, more like a WVD question. So I would defer to that. Basically, WVD team would be able to answer that question in the right way. Great.
Thanks for that. And I know there's a lot of WVD questions. I'm sorry, a lot of WVD sessions in the Azure track. When you go onto aka.ms Video Hub and aka.ms Virtual Hub, you can see the Azure sessions, and those include the WVD sessions as well. And so for Mike at IE, we were recently exploring direct boot to WVD through equipment OS provided by IGEL, and I was wondering if this is something that Microsoft would be tackling in the future. Again, that's something that the WVD folks could handle more than the Endpoint Manager folks, because we are specific to Intune Configuration Manager and that integration, but not so much the product itself, which in this case is WVD. I would love to see a question here about Microsoft Tunnel, because I don't see any. Maybe they either missed Brad's announcement on that, or they just flew through it. Russ, can you give us an idea of what Microsoft Tunnel is? Because it's a great feature and it's something that was so highly in demand. I can't believe I don't even see a thank you for offering it in the question. So can you talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, and there was one question that went through. They just asked where they could get more information on it. And later today, the link to the documents will be available at aka.ms/mstunnel. But MS Tunnel is a solution where you can manage from within Intune a tunnel into your corporate network. A VPN, if you will, that allows you to set up and manage, and the life cycle of the servers and things are all managed through the Intune site. So you would set up some infrastructure either on-prem, or it could be in the cloud, but it would need access back to your on-premise network. And then you manage, as in Intune, this server and the server and settings. We have what's called server settings, which each server will then join a site. And all servers in a site have the same configuration, and they would all sit behind a single load balancer. The clients then receive a VPN profile called MS Tunnel that you create and push down to them. And then you can use conditional access. The authentication, of course, is AAD authentication. And if you have conditional access set up, they wouldn't be allowed to talk through your tunnel. So you can secure access to your mobile devices back into your incorporation and apps.
Great, thanks for that. And what was that link again? aka.ms Tunnel?
/MS Tunnel, yeah.
Great, thanks. Hey. Christian, and I was just notified that I must be scrolling too fast because I did miss a bunch of MS Tunnel questions in the chat, so I do apologize about that, but we'll go back and get those as soon as we can. Christian, I see a question about, there were rumors regarding the potential end of life of Windows Store for Business and Windows Store for Education. Are you able to comment on those rumors? No, I can tell you that those are just rumors. They were rumors back in January that got put out to the media. And in those rumors, the Store for Business, Store for Education was going to be deprecated in June. And as you can see, we clearly did not do that. So no, those were just rumors. If you're using them, continue to do so. But we would, if you haven't started using them, take a look at Company Portal and Intune and some of the other ways to deploy applications. But those media rumors were just media rumors, and we actually cannot comment on them. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Mayank, is there a public roadmap for Endpoint Analytics to understand what sort of features are coming down the pipeline? Do you know? I know it's generally available today, and when Productivity Score GAs on October 29th, there will likely be even more features. Do you know of any roadmap for Endpoint Analytics?
Yes, so we post all our roadmap on the product documentation page. So maybe I can respond to that with a link to where we can find that. So we have a page that shows you what's in development, what our engineers are working on, so you can be better prepared for the new features as they roll out. I'll answer. I can see that question. I'll answer it in chat.
All right, great, thanks.
I can probably take the other one as well. I see the one right after that if you want. About the third-party MDM systems for conditional access.
All right, great.
So
I do see. I was going to say, if you want to, I'll read that out. Can third-party MDM systems feed data into conditional access today in product tenant, or is that still test tenants only?
So I just want, yes, that's the one. And I wanted to just clarify that, that is absolutely something that we support. Brad mentioned that about our ecosystem. The strength of Microsoft Endpoint Manager is its partner ecosystem. So we have enabled third-party MDM software to work with Microsoft Endpoint Manager and Azure Active Directory for that conditional access and device compliance. You still need the Intune API for that, so you do need to have the Intune licenses. But if you happen to be on a third-party MDM, you can take advantage of conditional access. So this API and all the technical pieces have been made available to our partners, but the actual rollout of the features are dependent on those partners. So, whether it goes to product, to test tenants or production or GA, you'll have to wait and basically watch each of those MDM partners for that delivery schedule. Microsoft does not control it. They have everything they need to build it.
Great, thanks for that. I do see a lot of questions about Windows Autopilot between co-management and renaming devices with Autopilot, wipe with Autopilot. I want to rest assure all of you, Mr. Michael Niehaus is actually in the background answering questions. I'm sure he'll answer every single one of those questions for you. I have one question here in the last couple of minutes. I'm not sure if it'll be the last question or not, depending on how long the answer is. This will be for Russ. When will Microsoft Tunnel support come to MAM only deployments? It's Microsoft Application Management, MAM, not MDM. How do you see Tunnel compared to Azure App Proxy? And when would a customer want to use Tunnel versus App Proxy?
As far as coming to MAM, I can't give any dates, but that's not in the preview that we have now. But I can't talk about dates and things for that. As far as Azure App Proxy, so Tunnel is actually a VPN and it proxies at the network level. If Azure App Proxy is meeting your needs today, then that's a great solution, and you can go ahead and use that. If you need access to other applications that maybe aren't HTTP and that, then you may want to consider putting in Tunnel and managing that through Intune.
Thanks, Russ. There's a question right under that from Dale. Is Microsoft Tunnel a split tunnel solution? If so, my corporate owners won't allow it.
So it can be set up either way. So you can set it up in the default mode is to not do split tunnel. So everything will go through the VPN. You're also able to set up split tunnel rules. Those are all configured up in Intune, and then they're pulled down to the server to configure, and those can be changed over time, as your needs change. But it does not have to be set up in split tunnel mode.
All right, great. I would be interested in find out, Dale, why your company. This isn't the forum for that, but why your company doesn't allow for split tunnel, especially with the work from home and your tunnel solution. Your VPN must be getting saturated with all users coming back for all their traffic. I mean, it's something to consider and that I would really be interested in getting more information on. And I can be found on Twitter at Lurie@_MSFT. All right, I think we're at time. I'm actually not sure what time this ends, so I'll just keep going until someone tells me otherwise.
We are at time.
All right, I'll read this one last question. When will Intune support Chromebooks? not able to use Android version on Teams or our employee Chromebooks. That is something that we're ready to support today. As soon as Google gives us the thumbs up, we'll go ahead and support that. We're asking for it. We're ready for it. Our policies already are waiting for that connection. It's up to Google then just to give us that thumbs up, give us that go. All right, I want to thank you all for joining us today. We have a lot of links on the screen right now. Microsoft Ignite, aka.ms Microsoft Ignite 2020/mem and /Windows for a whole list of sessions that you won't find in the Ignite catalog. aka.ms /Endpoint Manager for more information about Microsoft Endpoint Manager and everything that you've asked today and everything else that you can find today, everything else that we offer. Microsoft.com Fast Track for information on our Fast Track program, and aka.ms /Aperture, which is our promise to you that all your applications that currently work on one version of 10 work on the next version of 10. All of your IE apps will work on Edge. All of your Windows 7, everything works on Windows 10. So thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you at some of those links.